Hey guys, Seth the Shrinking Pastor here with some Monday motivation for you and a little Bible story. Out of 2 Kings 4, there's a story of Elisha. Elisha was God's main prophet at the time, and so when you spoke to Elisha, it was practically like talking to God. And he would give you wisdom, and the wisdom that he gave was God's wisdom. And there's a story about this woman who was a widow. Her husband had a lot of debt, but her husband was also a prophet, and he was faithful. He was a hard worker, and so she goes to Elisha and says, "Look, my creditors are knocking on my door, and they are going to take my children into slavery, my 2 sons." And so she came to Elisha looking for him and looking for God to come and somehow bring a solution outside of her life, and to come into her life and fix her problem for her. And Elisha kind of looks at her and says, "Okay, what do you have in your house?" Now, eventually you find out all she really had was some oil, and oil was used for everything, and it can be expensive. And he tells her, "Okay, go to your neighbors, get all of the jars that you can find from your neighbors, and pour out the oil into the jars." So she goes and gets all the jars, and she pours the oil. Now, a little bit of oil just keeps pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring into jar after jar after jar. And eventually she has enough to pay off her debt and to live off of. Now, God clearly worked a miracle in this instance. But the takeaway that I want to impart to you today is that many, many times, in fact, just about all of the time, when God calls us to something great, or when we're in a struggle, or when we're doing hard things, we have a tendency to look to God or to look to other people to come into our situation and solve our problem. And what we often miss is that God has already given us the tools within our lives to solve the problems. In this woman's case, she went to God and said, "Come and do something." And Elisha, speaking for God, said, "What have I already given you?" And using what she had already been given and her faith, she was able to accomplish the task that she set out to accomplish. In my life, the things that are making P90X possible are things that God has already blessed me with. It's a relationship with Him for encouragement. It's my wife and my friends and family that are motivating me and encouraging me on. It's a reason to do it. I mean, I've known for a very long time that God wants me to be healthy. I've known that it would be helpful in my life. I've wanted to do it for my spouse, for my future children, but it never felt like, I guess it was just never enough to actually make me step out. And my body, of course, I've had. I've not been given anything in this journey that I didn't already have. And the tendency, even with things like weight, is to look to a source outside of ourselves to come in and solve the problem, when really God's already given us the tools that we need. So embrace that concept today. Pray for God to show you how you can use the tools that He's already placed into your life to solve the challenges, difficulties, and tasks that He's either called you to or that you're facing today. And go read 2 Kings chapter 4. It's an amazing story of God's grace and God's provision. God isn't going to look at your situation and leave you sitting in your plight. He's going to pour out lavishly into your life if you ask and have faith that He'll do it. So that's a little bit of a sermonette for your Monday morning. I hope you guys are having a phenomenal start to a phenomenal week, and I will talk to you later.